Thank you very much, and thanks to all of you for joining us today for today's reboot. And it's great to have this event here hosted by Nokia. Because Nokia is a great company. Over 150 years, it's a company which has been able to reinvent itself over and over again. As we all know, it's been manufacturing completely different kinds of things throughout the years. I work at the headquarters of F-Secure in Ruoholahti, which means we are right next door to the Nokia cable factory, nowadays known as Kaapelitehdas, where Nokia used to make C cable. But to me it's even more dear because of the fact that that same building was where Nokia made its first computer, first PC, in the 1980s, called Nokia Mikko, which have always been very close to my heart. And we all saw outside a row of Nobel Prizes. Nokia has 8 Nobels. Nokia also has 3 Turing Awards, 3 Grammys, 2 Emmys, and an Oscar. And I think that's pretty cool. So for a company which has been able to change throughout these years, I'm sure we can learn many lessons. And as I've been looking at the revolution we've all lived through, I think we are very lucky to be alive during these defining years for the mankind. Over the last 25 years, we've lived through the internet revolution. It's easy to see how the world changed, but it's easy to forget how different things were. When I joined F-Secure, the year was 1991. I was hired by this young, tall guy called Risto Siilasmaa to join the company as employee number 6. And my working days back then were not that different from my working days tomorrow, and as they've been throughout these years. I would get to the office in the morning, I would sit at the computer and I would sit there all day. That's what I did 25 years ago, that's what I'm doing today. 25 years ago when I would go to our office, which at the time we were in Hietalahti, it was a smaller office, but we basically had PCs and Macs at the table. And today when I go to our office in Ruoholahti, we have PCs and Macs at the table. It's pretty much the same story. But the big difference is that 25 years ago, those PCs and Macs we had, they were not online. And when I say that they were not online, I don't mean only that they were not on the internet, because of course they were not on the internet in 1991. They were not even connected to each other. We did not have a local area network in 1991. So when you were working on one computer making files and you needed the files on another computer, we used these to move them around. This is the USB thumb drive of 1991. And this is pretty telling. I mean, and over the last 25 years, what has happened is that every single computer on the planet has become connected to every other computer on the planet. Back then, computers were not connected to each other. Today, they are. This is the internet revolution. And now we are about to see the next revolution. It has already started. And this is the IoT revolution, or connected devices revolution. And what that means is that now we've seen computers go online, next we will see everything else go online. Now, my job is to look at the risks and the downsides of technology. And clearly, internet has exposed us to new kinds of risks. Clearly, IoT and connected devices will expose us to new kinds of risks. But despite working all day with the worst of the worst on the internet, I am an optimist. I believe in a bright future. Yes, internet exposed us to new kinds of risks, but it's quite clear that the internet has brought us more upsides than downsides. Before the internet, you didn't have to worry about criminals from faraway countries. Living in Finland, you didn't have to worry about, let's say, criminals in Brazil. I mean, criminals from Brazil did not fly over to Helsinki to, I don't know, steal our cars. That's not a problem. Has never been, will never be a problem. But when the internet came around, for virtual crimes, it took away borders. It took away distance. It took away geography. And today, we have to worry about criminals from Brazil, because the online criminals from Brazil are looking for victims everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. But even with this change, I think we would all agree that the internet has brought us so much good. So much business, so much connectivity, so much entertainment. It's clear that the upsides are bigger than the downsides. And I believe exactly the same thing will apply to this next revolution, the IoT revolution. Yes, it's a bit scary. Yes, we're putting everything online. Yes, it means we are building a world-sized machine where the real world is being controlled by computers which are all connected to each other, which really is a globe-sized computer. That's what we're making, a globe-sized machine. And there are downsides. But I do believe, as, let's say, in 10 years, we will be having Reboot Finland 2027 or D.Day 2027, and we'll be looking back at the first 10 years of IoT, then maybe we will say that, yeah, sure, we were exposed to new risks, and yeah, sure, we had problems, but clearly the upsides of IoT revolution are much bigger than the downsides of the revolution. And then I believe we will already be speaking about the next revolution. Because I do believe most of us will be lucky enough to live through not one, not two, but 3 revolutions. We already lived through internet revolution. We're now living through IoT revolution. With any luck, we will still be alive to see the AI revolution. And if these 2 revolutions are scary, well, that's going to be scary as hell. Because it seems like a basic evolutionary mistake to introduce a superior intelligence into your own biosphere. But that's exactly what we're doing. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And it might happen in the next 20, 30, 40 years. So some of us will be around to see that. And the scariest part about that revolution is that we only get one shot of crossing the threshold. And we have to do it right, because we can't go back and do it again. And if we do it right, it's going to be great. And if we do it wrong, it's going to be Terminator 2. So despite all of the crime and naughtiness I witness on the internet every day during my work of tracking online criminals and building the threat assessments we need for our work, I see beauty on the internet. I think it's the best thing that has happened during my lifetime. I love the internet. I love the internet. It's great. Yes, of course, it's a spectrum of things, but overall it's great. And the more we can get the whole mankind, the whole humanity online, the better we're off as species. And the work being done here in Finland is a prime example of doing exactly that, getting the mankind and getting humanity online. Doing it safely and doing it securely is mandatory. That's why I love my work. Being able to provide solutions to people who, in effect, come to us asking for help. And when we are able to help them with their problems, it simply feels good. So after 26 years, I haven't had a boring day at work yet. I guess what I'm trying to say is that our work matters. I guess what I'm trying to say is that your work matters. Thank you for your work. Thank you very much.